Alright, last night you were supposed to do 3 problems off page 6 and 3 problems off of page 8 for homework. I will go over one off of each page. Which one would you like for me to go over off of page 6? 1, 2, or 3 on page 6? 1? Okay, let's get started. Shh. Since it is to the 4th power, what are our coefficients going to be? Okay, and where did those numbers come from? From Pascal's triangle, right. Alright, then what would we put next after each of those coefficients? The x, the first term of the binomial. Okay, and the first term is raised to the what power to begin with? The 4th, but from there it decreases. 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, what's the second term of the binomial? 3. Since it's a number, what do? Put it in parentheses. Okay, it starts off being raised to the 0 power, and then from there it increases. Okay, now all you have to do is simplify. Okay, so like this first term, we have a 1 times an x to the 4th times a 3 to the 0. What is 3 to the 0? 1. Okay, well what is 1 times x to the 4th times 1? X to the 4th. So you're done with term 1. Okay, term 2. We have a 4 times x cubed times, what is 3 to the 1st? What is 4 times 3? Positive 12. At this point you're going to want to write in your signs. And then x cubed. Okay, then the next term. We have a 6 times x squared times, guys, what's 3 squared? 9. Okay, what's 6 times 9? Positive 54. And then don't forget about the x squared. Alright, the next one, we have a 4 times an x times 27, because 3 cubed, which means 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Alright, what is 4 times 27? 108, and then don't forget about the x. Okay, the next one, we have 1 times 1, because x to the 0 power is also 1, times 81, because 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. What is 1 times 1 times 81? A positive 81. Anytime you're doing binomial expansion and it's a plus sign, all terms will be positive. Okay? Alright, so you are responsible for making sure 2 and 3 are done, because they will be on the 10 square. Not all of them, but at least one of them. Okay, the 10 square will be next Friday. Okay, now let's go to page 8. You were also supposed to do these 3 on your own problems on page 8. Which one of those would you like to go over? 1. Okay, it's raised to the 4th power, so what are my coefficients? Okay, then we move to the first term, which is x. Since it's first, it gets raised to the 4th power, and then it descends, decreases. Okay, now that you've done that, what is your second term? Right, this time your second term is a negative 3. So inside those parentheses, you're going to put a negative 3 on each term. But since it was the second term, it increases. So it'll start out to the 0 power and then go up. Okay, and then remember, anytime you look at a term, what do the exponents do? Like if I look right here, what are the exponents of this term? Like 2 plus 2 is 4, and that makes sense because the overall problem was to the 4th power. Okay? Alright, now let's just begin by looking at the first term, which is that 1, that x to the 4th, and that negative 3 to the 0. Well, 1 is obviously just 1 times x to the 4th times, what is negative 3 to the 0 power? So what does that make? X to the 4th. Okay, term 2. We have 4 times x cubed times negative 3. What does that become? Negative 12x cubed. Then we have 6 times x squared times 9, because negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. What does that become? Right? Then we have the next term, which is 4 times x times, right? What is 4 times negative 27? Negative 108, and then don't forget about the x. And then the last term, 1 times 81 is a positive 81. Remember, if it was a plus sign in here, all terms would have been positive. But since it's a minus sign, they alternate. Positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. Will we ever have one that ends up with all negatives? No. It'll either be all positive or it will alternate. Okay. Now let's move on to the new stuff. So turn to the next page. Now we're going to try it with coefficients. See now how the second term has a number and a letter? Okay, but all the same rules apply. So we start out by looking at the exponent. What is the exponent? So what are my coefficients going to be? Okay, then what's my first term? Okay, so it'll be a cubed, then a squared, a to the first, a to the 0. And then what's my second term? Right, but a negative 4b. So inside those parentheses, you're going to write negative 4b. And so this one will be raised to the 0 power. Then to the first power, second power, and third power. Well, each term, like if you look at this term, those two numbers will add to 3. Okay, now let's just start simplifying. We have a 1 times an a cubed times a 1, because anything to the 0 power is 1. What is 1 times a cubed times 1? A cubed. Okay, so we are finished with the first term. Moving on to the second term. We have a 3 times an a squared times, what is negative 4b to the first power? Negative 4b. Okay, so now, this looks like it's a little complicated, but it's really not. Everybody look, it's easy. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. A squared times b is a squared b. You can't actually multiply them because they're two different variables. You just mush them together. Okay, third term. We have a 3 times a times negative 4b squared. Doesn't negative 4b squared literally mean negative 4b times negative 4b? Well, what is negative 4 times negative 4? Positive 16, and what's b times b? B squared. So now we have a 3 times a 16, which is 48, and we have a times b squared, which is ab squared. Okay, and then the last term. We have 1 times, what is a to the 0? 1 times, okay, negative 4b cubed. Wouldn't that be negative 4b times negative 4b times negative 4b? Okay, negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 is negative 64. What about the b times the b times the b? Right, and so what happens when you multiply that by 1 and another 1? Right, you just get the same thing back. Okay, any questions? Okay, let's try one more together, and then I'll have two for you to try. Okay, 2x plus 1 to the fourth power. Since it's to the fourth power, what are my coefficients? Okay, what's the first term? Okay, so 2x to the fourth, 2x to the third, 2x to the second, 2x to the first, 2x to the 0. Why do we have two sets of parentheses on each term? Right, each term has a number, and anytime there's a number, you put it in parentheses. Okay, what is the second term? So 1 to the 0, 1 to the first, 1 to the second, to the third, and to the fourth. Okay, so looking at this first term, we have a 1 times 2x to the fourth. Okay, well, instead of writing out 2x times 2x times 2x times 2x, couldn't you just kind of split it up and say 2 to the fourth power? What is 2 to the fourth power? 16, and then x to the fourth power is x to the fourth. So you really don't have to take the time to write them out. You can just look at each part and raise it to the fourth power. What is 1 to the 0 power? 1. So our first term is 16x to the fourth, right? Okay, second term. We have a 4 times 2x cubed. Well, what is 2 cubed? 8. And what's x cubed? Right, just x cubed. And then times, what is 1 to the first power? 1. Okay, what do you get when you multiply? Well, first just deal with the numbers. What's 4 times 8? Times 1. And then you just attach the x cubed. Okay, the third term. We have 6 times, what is 2x squared? 4x squared. And what's 1 squared? 1. What's 6 times 4 times 1? 24, and then just x squared. Okay, fourth term. We have 4 times what? 2x times 1. What does that multiply to be? 8x. Okay, and then the last term. 1 times 1, which is 1. And then there's your answer. Okay, I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, and I want you to try this first practice problem by yourself. 2x plus 2 cubed. So that's what you should have got for that practice problem. Okay, now I'm going to let you try one more practice problem. It's at the top of the next page. Okay, go ahead and try this one. X minus 5y to the fifth power. What's the exponent for this problem? 5. So what should your coefficients be? Okay, good. What is the first term? X. So it starts out to the fifth, and then it goes down until it reaches x to the 0 power. Okay, what is the second term? Okay, so negative 5y goes in the parentheses on each term, but it starts out raised to the 0, and then it goes up. Okay, now all we do is just simplify. 1 times x to the fifth times 1 is, right? Okay, so we're done with term 1. Okay, term 2, 5 fourth times, what is negative 5y to the first? Okay, when you multiply those, what do you get? Right, negative 25, because 5 times negative 5 is negative 25, and then x to the fourth times y is just x to the fourth y. Okay, term 3, we have a 10 times an x cubed times, what is negative 5y squared? 25 what? Y squared. Okay, then we multiply the 10 times the 25 and get, right, and x cubed times y squared is, right? Okay, then the fourth term, 10 times x squared times, what is negative 5y cubed? Is it going to be negative or positive? Negative, because it's an odd exponent. And what's 5 cubed? Right, and then don't forget that the y is also cubed, so y cubed. Now, what is 10 times negative 125? Right, negative 1,250, and then x squared y cubed. Alright, fifth term, 5 times x times, what is negative 5y to the fourth? Is it going to be negative or positive? Positive, why? Well, because you have an even number, so there'll be like 4 negatives. These two would make a positive, these two would make a positive. So that's why it goes back positive, because there's an even amount of negative signs. Okay, now, where were we? So what is 5 to the fourth? And then what's y to the fourth? Right, just y to the fourth. Now, what's 5 times 625? And what's x times y to the fourth? Right. Okay, then the last term, we have a 1 times x to the 0, which is 1 times, what's negative 5y to the fifth? Is it going to be negative or positive? Negative, because you're raising it to an odd exponent. Think about it, guys. If you have 5 negative signs, yeah, these two will make positive, and these two will make a positive, but then that one leftover negative will turn it back negative. Okay, well, what is 5 to the fifth power? Okay, and then the y is also to the fifth power. When you multiply that by 1 times 1, you get, right. If you got that problem right, you're ready for the quiz. Okay? Now, over the weekend, I would like you to try these 3 on your own problems to continue practicing for the quiz. Okay?